Hello, everyone. So we are live. Super excited to have you, Austin. So to give a context to everyone, welcome to this agent intelligence and kind of like a agent ecosystem exploring. We're exploring everything agent in Web3. My name is Francesco, and we're diving deep into kind of like the vision, the technology, and we're speaking to Austin from Dragonfly. So Austin, is a big pleasure to have you here. You want to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. I'm Austin. I'm on the investment team at Dragonfly. Spend a lot of my time looking at consumer
Mhm.
and AI deals. And so,
Nice.
yeah, happy to be here and chat more about the agent landscape.
I mean, that's super exciting, Austin, because it's one of the first time in the live stream that we have someone on the VC kind of like side where you actually like seeing much more kind of ecosystem deals. You are probably are aware more about kind of like the trends, and now that kind of the Denver passed, we are a little bit like more relaxed to actually decompress and actually speak about what we saw not just during Denver but during the entire kind of like ecosystem trends. So. Quick kind of first question, like, are there any specific trends you see around kind of like agent development? Is there some kind of like use case deals that you're kind of like looking more closely today? What do you want to share about this?
Yeah, I think there's certainly a lot of excitement and and momentum around just like builders in the agent space. I think like we're seeing a lot of trends, especially in like natural language processing and in terms of putting together transactions and the sort of def AI or AI fi space. I think the trends that I think I find the most compelling myself is these like owners of proprietary data. So whether that be like
Mhm.
whale watch data with like Moby's the Moby agent, or like if say like Kaido were to launch an agent, stuff like that, like wrapping these agents around proprietary data and using the agent as the method of distribution
Yep.
is super interesting to me. I think like in terms of a lot of the other use cases for these agents, it's still extremely early, and a lot of them aren't really super super useful today.
Nice. Nice. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I think also it's a little bit too early speaking about like social, like agent to agent kind of coordination in terms of like how agent will coordinate with self. I think maybe we don't still have like strong, let's say, specs or like standards around that. But that's still like something that I heard a lot around Endeavor panels. So where do you think kind of like we have the biggest opportunities right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of things here. Number one is like, kind of repeating myself, but around this proprietary data thing. And so it's like,
Hmm.
okay, I think you saw with like something like AI XBT, it's like they were building this data pipeline around scraping crypto Twitter for a long time, like over a year before actually like finding that AI XBT, the sort of Twitter agent. Was the just the best way to distribute that data. And so I think like ultimately like a lot of these things are useful based on their data. I think there's obviously a ton of opportunity in terms of more agentic capabilities, such as controlling your browser or being able to make transactions on your behalf, or being able to just figure out like what are the best opportunities out there in terms of yield or in terms of just like mind share. Um, so I guess yeah, maybe delineating between what I see as the biggest opportunity, which I think is this like you know agent marketplace where you have all these different agents with all these different capabilities, and
Hmm.
then being able to mix and match those to create use cases that just don't exist right now.
Hmm.
Um, but I do think we're still probably a couple of iterations or maybe cycles before we really get there. That
Yeah.
being said, yeah, massive opportunity.
I agree. Yeah. And I mean, most of the people that kind of like seeing these kind of like live streams are builders or kind of like people that think about, okay, what's the state, the opportunities around agents. Like, is there like you obviously being very kind of like more high level, you see probably like different agents. For anybody that doesn't know me, like they probably like know that I'm a big kind of like I don't know, I'm not saying fan, but we definitely need more kind of like agent attestation with social graphs so that we can actually like start to attribute metrics or just like how we say attestation to those agents so that we
Mm.
know which one kind of has a better track record. But I also think like on the builder side, we have different frameworks. People are onboarding on different ways, so we have these different funnels. So there are also like kind of different gaps. Like I just want to kind of like interested to know where do you see like some gaps there are today? Do you kind of probably recognize gaps from the maybe like on the infra level, on the maybe on the builder, on the developer onboarding level, on the framework level? Where do you see like those challenges happening today?
Yeah, I think this is like multifaceted. Number one, like all of the frameworks that are out there today, like, and I've played around with most of them, are still very bare bones in terms of their capabilities. And so, continuing to build out that functionality is obviously going to allow builders to get a bit more creative with a little less lift. I think like, when over the holidays, when I was building out an agent for fun, I was basically custom building 90% of it. And really just like the Twitter API and OpenAI integration were the main things I was using.
Hmm. Hmm.
So frameworks is one part of it. I also think like like the models themselves
Hmm.
are still early. They're rapidly improving. Um, but in terms of like how much you can trust them and the reliability, looking at what they're great for, which is synthesizing and summarizing like extremely large amounts of data. That is something they're great at today. But when it comes to building on chain transactions or something which is very deterministic, I think it's sort of is one of the weaknesses of models out there today. And so I think we're still kind of waiting for the models to improve, and then also for the frameworks to become a bit more sophisticated.
Nice, nice, nice. What were the big, I mean, speaking very specifically around kind of Denver, like around the agent specifically, what are the biggest kind of like debate or kind of like speaking point that you heard about? Kind of like could be spicy takes, could be even like stuff that, oh, this was really spoken a lot. This is something that we should speak more that you heard about, like, the Denver conversation.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess like I don't know, we hear a lot about swarms and
Mhm.
like just these like network of agents that work together on specific tasks. Uh, and I think that largely aligns with my mental model of them, which is you have these specialized agents that are good at a couple of things, and that is how you're going to get better performance and reliability from an overall set of agents. And so having them work together rather than just like having one general purpose agent trying to do everything does fit in within my mental model for agents specifically. I think like we haven't, you know, with all these like foundational models, we basically have them split between like reasoning agents and then just like more conversational agents, and ones that are better for coding and math, and then ones that are just better like for general purpose knowledge.
Mhm.
And so we're starting to already see that split between how the models are trained.
Mhm.
And so I see that bifurcating more when you start working on these fine-tuned models to do specific tasks.
Nice. So it's fine-tuning model. And are you believing more in this kind of like generalized AI agent narrative or verticalized agent narrative? Because obviously, like I'm a more on the verticalized. I think training data is something that is always like being kind of like a hurdle of not just LLMs but a general machine learning model. So having vertical trained model is probably like be more specific. But then we go in the direction of okay, how is the agent to agent collaboration? But I would love to hear kind of like your thought around, is it something that you think we will get more in the direction of vertical, or is some kind of like super agents kind of like delegating and delivering like different type of services?
Yeah, I mean, I personally view them as verticalized,
Hmm. Hmm.
and maybe like I don't know, like if you go and use like OpenAI operator,
Hmm.
basically it's just like wrapping an LLM or an agent,
Hmm.
whatever you want to call it, around an
Hmm.
API. And so it's like,
Yep.
okay, like, is it really realistic that an agent's going to want to just control this general purpose browser and navigate between every website that exists out there and do it in a way that is actually like better than a human can do? I
Hmm.
think is less likely than, okay, like this agent has access to the Instacart API and it can just interact with that API in a way that it can be programmed to do, rather than like
Hmm.
go interacting with like UIs designed for humans.
Yep.
And so I think like along those lines, viewing them as verticalized makes a lot more sense to me.
Yes. Do you see like challenges in terms of like where could be the gaps in terms of like is it the training of the data that will be um, the biggest kind of like builder let's say builder challenge like because I feel like at the end of the day like feeding models is data is kind of king, you know, like how you're actually feeding those models, and that's why this is how kind of like the purpose. I don't know if you see kind of like a similar way, or what do you think?
Hmm. Honestly, I think the biggest challenge is especially in the context of crypto is just building products that specifically leverage LLMs and at what they're good at, and not falling for this trap of just like building something because it's cool or intellectually interesting. And so I don't know, I think like when it comes to like AI fi or def AI, like a lot of teams are building like, being able to do swaps in natural language or being able to do lending and borrowing with natural language, when ultimately like a UI is actually more convenient just clicking buttons than actually like typing out what exactly you want to do. And when it comes to like swaps, if your main priority is convenience, then like a Telegram bot
Hmm.
is going to be the best for that.
Yeah.
And so I actually think like we should be as a space much more thoughtful on what LLMs are actually really good at, and what an agent is specifically doing that isn't already well serviced by
Yes.
existing products. Because I think, yeah, a lot of people are falling into this trap that okay, like yes, we can build this,
Hmm.
but it's actually not better. And if it is a little bit better, like that's
Yes.
still not going to attract people from existing products just because of even just like security. Um, and
Yes.
so I think we're really looking for 10x like new primitives, and um,
Hmm.
we haven't seen that outside of a few one-on-ones like AIXBT
Yeah.
and Freysa, and maybe
Yeah.
like one or two other examples. But yeah, I guess like when it comes to like the Def AI space, like there's been nothing that I've found to be super compelling as something I would personally use.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I mean, we also don't want to recreate kind of like the same story all around, right? DeFi summer, people were forking dexes, and kind of the worst rug people was actually the people that he was using the dex because they didn't know that actually the dex was just a fork, and it was going like in the direction of like some kind of like rug pull or something. And I think like similar to why DeFi summer, we had what 100 dexes forked, so many different names. Everybody was so confused. I think same is happening right now with agents. They're obviously like all forks of like Eliza or even like same use case being forked. That's why it was all like the idea of even starting actually to create this ecosystem. Like we need to have a solid social graphs and public let's say public registry of those agents. I think that was kind of like the biggest concern. That's why this kind of like all these OGs came together to build this kind of like modern public registry of agents. Um, but I also want to understand from you, like you touched a little bit on kind of like the challenges. You touched a little bit like on those biggest opportunities. And you actually like mentioned a couple of those agents that you think are super relevant. Do you have any? Any thought about how could be a future agent-to-agent coordination, or is it too early to actually speak about this right now?
Yeah, I don't think it's too early to start thinking about it.
Hmm.
But I will say like it's almost the wrong problem to index on, because it's like before you start thinking about agent coordination, there should be agents out there that are useful and they need to coordinate on something useful. And so like I certainly think that swarms or agent coordination is important in that they
Hmm.
will work together in ways. I think we already see this at some like internal companies where you're like building a very specific data pipeline and agents are passing data to one another. Um, but I feel like it is still a little bit early to look at something and be like, okay, like um, here's a product that really requires agent coordination,
Hmm.
because like there just aren't that many agents out there. I do
Hmm.
think like a platform like Griffin or Grafane,
Hmm.
like exemplifies this, where like okay,
Yes.
like have a bunch of agents in this marketplace and they can coordinate together or at least like share a context window, or you can create automations that they use multiple agents, and that's very cool. But then when you actually like go and use the product, it's still like, okay, I'm not sure what the killer feature is here. I don't know like what I'm actually going to use this for personally. And so yeah, I think we're still solving that first problem.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's a good point what you're bringing there, around kind of like the agent-to-agent coordination. But I think also the role of those, let's say, public registry will also bring a lot of like integration step up, right? Because right now you see on Eliza there are different integration, but the dApp developer is looking more on the dApp level of integration, right?
Mm.
And not like on the framework level. Plus, we see a lot of like Python focused developer coming from Web2, right? So we probably also want to have similar to what I don't know, arbitrary stylus, so kind of like onboarding developers from a specific kind of like narrative. Okay, one thing is to say also, like speaking, I'm not a big fan of kind of like North Star like metrics or OKRs, but what is your thought about what are the main metrics here around the agent that we should kind of like really evaluate success? Some people answer me, oh, TVL around agent treasuries. So people ask me how much value every agent is creating around socials. But sometimes I feel having a higher mind sharing Kaito for a social agent is not the true metric that we want to evaluate it. So I want to
Mm.
ask you a little bit like, if we want to define, a couple of metrics for this is how we evaluate success, this is how we bring in value actually to the AI agent consumer, what are those metrics that you think about?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I certainly don't think mindshare is what you want to be optimizing for,
Exactly. Yeah.
unless you're maybe like AI XPT and that's sort of your whole thing.
Yes.
But I think like for like for actually maybe at a bottom line, like revenue is a good one, and whether it's and maybe it's like just transaction volume going through your
Mm-hmm.
platform.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to be case by case depending on the agent, but if you're
Yes.
like a def AI platform, like you should be optimizing for volume,
Mm-hmm.
that's going through the platform that the agents are facilitating. Um, and that's really the core metric of whether people are finding it useful, I think. Other than that, I think like just like daily active users, retention, uh, but all these things I think can be gamed. The one stat that like is really hard to game without incentives is just like financial metrics, which is like volume, and revenue.
Okay, sounds good. So volume revenue, because I definitely I don't think it's a long-term future. I think like short-term future we will actually have humans starting to kind of like delegate accesses or even delegate it like treasury to those agents, especially when we're going in the kind of like DeFi agent space, and that's actually super exciting. Okay, so I see we're almost on time here. Like any specific kind of developments that you're excited about to see in the I would say 3 to 6 months max, because this space is moving so fast. That you're looking as you personally, as Dragonfly, anything that you want to kind of like mention here?
Yeah, I think like we're personally super excited about the intersection of crypto and AI.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't, say that like this necessarily specifically has to be agents. Like there's plenty
Yeah.
of cool stuff you can build at the intersection of crypto and AI that doesn't have to be, like an agent specifically.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I don't know. I'm really looking forward to, I think like these new seasons of Freza that's been coming out are super cool, and how like AI safety comes into this. I do think like, coming back to this idea of what LLMs are specifically good for, something that I'm hoping somebody builds is, is is an LLM that has real time access to Twitter. And so when I want to ask, okay, like maybe paste a contract address, and it searches for the last 100 tweets that have mentioned the CA, it and then synthesizes and summarizes that, so I can learn about like, okay, what is this token, who deployed it, what is like,
Mm-hmm.
what's the sentiment around it. Like that's actually something that an LLM is good at, and a
Mm-hmm.
product that you can really build without an LLM. And so, maybe I want to learn about like what new product launches have happened on crypto Twitter in the
Mm-hmm.
past 24 hours or something. And so I think you're like kind of getting close to this with like Grok 3 and Deep Search,
Yes.
but it's still not that good. I think
Mm, okay.
an opportunity for someone to build a product around this,
Yeah.
specifically for crypto Twitter, and it would be like immensely valuable. This is something that like I would personally use and want somebody to build. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I think like, looking forward to the models improving, and certain use cases that just products that like I personally want to use, and that
Mm-hmm.
like it seems like other people are enjoying, which
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we have many examples of that today.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually something good. And I mean, speak about that use case, like, and for the fact that people are or will hear this kind of like live stream, seeing this live stream later. Like for the builders out there, what do you think should builders be focusing right now? Because you also mentioned like, oh, maybe there is no LLM use case. You can actually build something more valuable. What do you think those builders should be focusing right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you are building an agent, you should just be super thoughtful about what LLMs are really good at and building it around that. I think like if a use case is already well serviced by an existing product, it's probably not something you want to build.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is just, a recipe for like having, maybe a viral spike because something is cool, but then no one actually ends up using it over time. And so being super thoughtful about what LLMs are good at, what products you can build that wouldn't be possible without an LLM. And I think I don't know, not falling into the trap of, building like a platform before the product.
Yeah.
I think like you have to earn the right to be a platform by building like a product first. And so yeah, just
Yes,
being
agree.
thoughtful about like what is the killer feature, what is the one thing that users are going to come to your platform and do, because that
Mhm.
is better than anywhere else. Is I think the most important thing that builders
Sounds
should
good.
be focusing on.
That's super cool. Yeah, and why every builder is focusing on that? We're also very hands down to build, to have this kind of like public registry ongoing, so that we can actually define those social graphs. We can actually understand, okay, this is how and what the space looks like, and what agent is pushing what. Awesome. I think Austin, that's it for today. I mean, thanks everyone also like for checking out, and make sure also like you ask those questions to Austin. How Austin, how people can reach out to you? I totally forgot to ask
Yeah,
you that.
I think like Telegram, Twitter, my DMs are open. Happy to, chat with anybody. Maybe if you get in touch with Francesco and want to get in touch through me through him, always,
Yes.
happy to chat to builders.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Awesome. So thanks everyone for this kind of like agent intelligence. Yeah, as mentioned, thanks Austin also like from Dragonfly to give all these insights. If you're building any agent, if you're building something cool and you just want to present to the live stream, or just come to this modern office hours, we're pushing that. Where you can just ping everyone in the Discord. It's hello mother slash hello mother, As I mentioned before, like everybody's welcome. Any kind of like discussion that is happening on different things. And big round of applause for anybody coordinating this live stream in the background. There are a bunch of people, Koj, Zero Ed. So if you're hearing us, thanks so much for also pushing this call. I think those are very valuable. Awesome. Thanks, Tosin, and probably see you in ECC. I don't know. Now that I cannot have any more, so I'll see you in Denver because it's finished. But probably see you in around the non IRL and IRL next.